Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how CEOs, founders, and senior executives sell their ideas, point of view, and personal brand to the people who matter most. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want to build market eminence, amplify your influence, and attract high-value prospects, investors, partners, talent, and media opportunities with less chasing and more confidence. Let's go. You say DeMato, but I say DeMato. That's right. He's back after way the hell too long. Guru, positioning and visual branding expert, photographer to the stars, John DeMato. Welcome back to the show.
That was wonderful. Thank you, David.
Let's first debunk. We're going to debunk. We're going to dehydrate all of this nonsense about visual imagery and photography for experts. Mm-hmm. Experts, thought leaders, consultants, people with a personal brand. I'll start here, and you could probably talk about this for the next 15 minutes, but, don't. A lot of people think, I'm going to get my headshot done once every 5 years in case I get fatter or thinner or grayer. And that's it for photography. That's it for visual imagery. Headshot every 5 years. John DeMato, blow that up for us.
I'll do it gently. Well, please. I can't promise I'm going to do it gently.
Okay. You're a New Yorker, for God's sakes.
I know. I'm trying to be nice. It's New Year, all those things.
So what are people missing when they think that way?
Well, the reality is what they're really missing is the fundamental overarching principle behind why visual storytelling through these images is important in the first place. And the fact that in order to be recognized as an authority, to have market eminence, for the lack of a better phrase, it's important for that expert who speaks, who coaches, trains, consults, writes books, the slashies, if you will, that they stay top of mind with those that they serve, but not just stay top of mind by sharing the same, as you say, photos from 5 years ago because they changed the way they look, but because they want to look in demand, because they want to look like they're still getting work, that they still are being recognized as a relevant market leader in their space. Yeah. And the only way that you do that is through a combination of different images that showcases who you are and how you help others. Yeah. And when you're missing that overarching, I need to do this as an ever-evolving thing and not once upon a time or every now and then, or, I'm trying to push something new, but rather I'm trying to stay in everybody's, view by being there consistently. That is how you ultimately develop an evolving and growing a business.
This also reminds me, our friend Corey Perlman talks about this when it comes to social media. He says, whatever it is you want to get hired for, if I look at your social media right now, will I see a picture of you doing it? So, for example, if you're a speaker, I go to your Instagram, I go to your LinkedIn, am I going to see somewhere in the last 24 to 48 hours an image of you speaking, an image of you in front of a group, an image of you on a Zoom call, an image of you in front of a boardroom? Am I going to see you doing the thing that you're selling? Not in your car, not at the grocery store, not, look at my big hamburger that I got that's like a triple patty, whatever. Am I going to see you in action doing what you are selling? And I'll tell you, John, 95% of the time that I look out onto our social media landscape of some of our friends and colleagues and some people who are very well known, that ain't it. That's not what I'm seeing. And then I scroll back last week, last month, last 3 months, nowhere to be seen do I visually connect with. This is what they do for a living. And I've been telling people for years, the context in which they see you is the context in which they set you. So if you're always in the car doing little funny selfies, they're like, well, yeah, this guy's in his car for a living. If they see you on stages, if they see you on Zoom, if they see you in front of a seminar room, if they see you coming out of a board meeting, walking across the lobby, holding up a copy of your book when you're mid-sentence, then they're like, oh, this person speaks, this person consults, this person coaches. So when people come to you for this visual storytelling, walk us through the process, because I know that there's a lot of magic that happens before and during and after, and it's not a one-off thing. This is a regular cadence of taking new imagery with a new purpose and a new outcome over the course of a year or multiple years or ongoing forever, maybe. But walk us through, how do you get started with somebody like me, like you, the people who are in the business of expertise?
Right. Well, the first step is to figure out who this, as I said before, who you are and how you help others. So first of all, your essence, your personality, we need to lock that in. Why? Because that needs to be written all over your face in every photo that you share, because otherwise you're going to attract the wrong types of people for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
You know, you might be putting on a show, or you think you need to do certain things, or I have to look this way, or I have to smile. And the reality is you need to be the person in the room in front of the people who pay you money as you are in your photos. Otherwise, congratulations, you've just lost the trust of the room.
Right.
So we start there.
Yeah.
Then we get into what's in the shop front window, as you were alluding to. What is for sale? Are we coaching? Are we training? Is it a whiteboard that you're using? Is it a screen that you work off of? Is it a flip chart, slides, online course, community that you're trying to, whatever it is, wherever it is, we need to document all of those details so that we can create the body of visual evidence that showcases that you've done it before, recently, and for people just like those that are searching you out right now. And then once we get that itemized onto a list for a branding session, the next piece is to then actually get those images in real life as well. Because in addition to the branding images of, recreating these moments and getting those photos as some foundational pieces, you need to get this stuff in real life as well. Why? Because we need to see what the participants look like. It's not enough to just showcase you. And it's not enough to just showcase the thing you do. We need to see what happens before it and what happens after it. For example, a keynote. What do we most of the time see our colleagues doing? I'm in this gigantic room. I'm a tiny little peanut. Look at me on the IMAX. Ain't I awesome? Yes, you are awesome. And you're missing 9,000 other things that you should be getting photographed. What do I mean by that? Well, what does it look like when you show up and you're working with the AV team? What does it look like when you're going through your slides with someone backstage? What does it look like when you're rehearsing, talking to the event professionals that booked you or the organization that booked you, whomever? What does it look like when you're talking to the participants that are filing in and excited to hear you speak? And then the during is, well, that wide shot is amazing, but we need to see a lot of other stuff from different vantage points in the room, in addition to the audience members taking notes, participating, reacting, all of those pieces to showcase the experience that you provide when you are on that stage. And then the after, if you have a book signing, show that. If you're taking selfies with people, get photos of that. If you're talking to other folks, get photos of that. The point is, you need to show the full scope of that story because it shows that you are invested and that you care about your clients to provide a quality experience, not just the insights and the magic show on the stage.
All right, hang on. We got to back up the truck here. Beep, 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 beep. Do you have a copy of my new book, Market Eminence? No? Well, you can grab that. It's available in audio, paperback, and Kindle at marketeminence.com. That's right, my friends, marketeminence.com. Go check it out and then come right back to this episode. Dude, I'll tell you, I am getting tingly. I am getting tingly right now, and I'll tell you why. You look at most of the expert community, and we'll go to their websites, we'll go to their LinkedIn, we'll download their marketing material. Here's what we're going to read. And I say read very specifically because reading is different than seeing. Easy to work with, right? Interactive program, right? Hysterically funny. Well, John, honestly, you and I can say those things till the cows come home. Me doing the AV check, right? Me leaning over the AV board with some of the guys in the back of the room and collaborating with them, right? That picture says way more about humility, attention to detail, easy to work with, etc. Me getting in the face of a participant and the participant laughing and the person to their left and the person to their right also smiling and going, oh my God, right? Interactive, engaging, gets the audience right where they live. Okay, we can say that or we can show that, right? Me hanging out with the meeting planner in the back of the room, holding up the iPad, going over the instant, online polling, the QR codes, the Talk-A-Dot, whatever it is, right? David wants to make sure that your event is successful, not just that his speech went well. Okay, I can say that, and I do say that. Show me with the meeting planner, going over the iPad, collaborating, looking at whatever. Now, these are moments that happen in front of the video team. If the association, if the conference has a photographer, it's happening in front of the photographer. They're not thinking to get these pictures. Right. They're thinking that the photo session starts when Jane steps on the stage and the photo session stops when Jane steps off the stage. Right. To get a lot of IMAG shots, like you were saying, they're really clever. They get on the floor, they do the nostril shot where you look like you're 17 feet tall. No one's getting these pictures that you're talking about. No one. And they are vital if you want to show people, not just tell people, but show people why they should hire you. This is why I'm getting tingly. So let's talk about an annual program. I'm a smart guy. I do consulting, coaching, speaking, and training. I have online courses. I've got a mastermind with Zoom calls all the time. What's going to be in my 12-month regimen with you? How are we going to start? And you don't need to go through all 12 months, but beginning, middle, late middle, towards the end, wrapping it up, getting ready for next year. What does that 12-month cycle or longer look like?
Well, the 12-month cycle is obviously, it's different for everyone, but it starts the way we talked about before with the strategy. It starts with understanding where your business is, where you want to grow it, what are you selling, when are you selling it, and then kind of reverse engineering from that plan. And what it starts with is a full-blown assessment that gets that full scope view, that bird's eye view down on everything. So we identify all the key pieces and leave nothing unturned, and then kind of also figure out where the gaps are in terms of how to implement these things, because it's one thing to invest in thousands upon thousands of photos. It's another to actually execute on using these things in a strategic way. So there is a part that I play in that. But before we play that part, or I play that part, it's acquiring them. It starts with a branding session. It starts with getting those core assets. You're looking into the camera, the headshots, the wider portraits, those foundational assets that you need for the speaker kit, that you need for the profile images, that you need for the website, all of those things.
Yeah.
And then we will also get into what we talked about before with the recreated moments of your coaching, your training, your one-on-ones, your online, your blah, 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 fill in the blank, whatever that looks like for them.
Right.
Then once we get those pieces, then there is a strategy component that is, all right, let's immediately identify the gaps where these images need to fill them right now. Get that done. Once that's done, now, hey, here are some other gaps that need to be filled. And that would be filled with actual events. So if you're a keynoter, we would highlight one or two of those. If you're doing if you have a certification group or some kind of mastermind you run or whatever that looks like, we would get images of that. And then we would also, if you're launching a book, like someone I know, we would get photos of your book. And then the other piece, one of the missing details, we would identify some stuff in your personal life. Now, you mentioned before, you were making a joke about the hamburger and the this and the that. The truth of the matter is you need that stuff too, but it can't be everything. It needs to be the yes and. It needs to be the yes and to this stuff. So we would identify if there's anything that I would be required to photograph, be it if, let's say you have a foundation or you run some kind of community thing that you want to highlight because it's relevant and valuable to your audience to really showcase your human being side.
That's right.
And then the other piece to working with me is then to work out a smartphone strategy, because I don't know if you know this, but that camera that's in your pocket is pretty damn good.
Okay.
And I'm not going to be around paparazziing you like you Gary Vaynerchuk. So therefore, when moments happen within your business and your life, you got to take some ownership on that. But for a lot of people, they just spray and pray and take weird stuff and they post it. And some of it works and a lot of it doesn't. But the reality is there is a strategy to it. And I help folks with that, as well as an overarching strategy that ensures that we're being proactive with all of these professional images and smartphone images. Yeah. And we have a monthly call and work that out so that you're actually using the damn photos.
So I'm going to share something that I think a lot of people have seen, but not a lot of people think about doing for themselves. And you are brilliant at doing this. And so I think we also need to tell people that you do this amazing book boudoir thing that you did for my Market Eminence book. And this is going in that same direction. A lot of times people want imagery, they just shoot imagery of you straight up filling the frame. You are fully centered. What we see every day, probably dozens of times a day, is online ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, sidebar images where there is text and there's the person pointing to the text. Or there's the person that is sitting on a bench and they're sitting on one end of the bench and there's enough room to promote, hey, I'm going to be in Cincinnati on February 2nd speaking for blah, blah, come on down. So look at what singers do. Look at what comedians do with their imagery, because these people are micro celebrities, right? They're micro personal brands. Some of them are macro personal brands. They are taking photos and they have an image library that is explicitly and specifically designed to have text superimposed on it later to promote an event, certification class, licensing, whatever it might be. Talk to us about those kinds of images that are meant to be partnered up with text.
Well, actually, what you're talking about, to get a little nerdy, is baking in negative space into the shot where you have that open area. And that's not an added feature. That needs to be your entire library, because the reality is what ultimately happens with a lot of experts who get what you talk about, the straight on shot, and by the way, flat lighting in a space that has no meaning whatsoever, or it's not even on brand. It's just like a studio space or something, and it just doesn't feel synchronous with the actual brand of the person that's in front of the camera.
Yes.
You want to have as much variety as possible to hand to all of the different creative folks that you're working with, or if you're working with this yourself, because otherwise you're square pegging into round holes with these images. And what ultimately happens is you end up bastardizing the image because you're trying to force something by you're basically wasting time. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
You're paying extra for a designer to make a photo that inherently doesn't work for what you need. In your case, what you just mentioned with the text, it could also be a logo. It could also be a button. It could be whatever needs to be in that space. But if you don't have images that inherently have open space on the left and the right and below and above and all around, you're not giving your team an opportunity to be able to quickly turn around these images. And one other thing that I would add, it's not just enough to have these images with all this negative space. You also have to have the images that convey different emotions within these photos. Why? Because the text that you marry it with needs to complement what that visual the emotion of that photo is. Otherwise, there's an imbalance with regards to, let's say you have some kind of a message of hope, and I'm just throwing this out there, hope and aspiration, and meanwhile you're mean mugging the camera because you think you look like a badass and you need to put that in there. Well, that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
But if there's a photo that's a low angle, you're on the left side, the text that's that inspiring message is on the right side, you're looking up and you're smiling and you're thinking of a bright, bright, bright future. Well, now the photo visually punctuates the sentiment of those words, and it's ready-made for a designer to come in, slap that text on, and put it to wherever it needs to go, whether it's a banner, an ad, or for a PDF, or even for a slide, whatever. Point being is that philosophy needs to be adopted for every expert that works with a professional branding photographer, as well as an event photographer. It works for the event photos as well. It's the same philosophy, to give yourself the most creative latitude as humanly possible once those photos are delivered.
Can we talk about Pat Dwyer?
We can.
I mean, no one really wants to, but let's anyway. So Pat Dwyer is a mutual friend. By the way, you've shot almost all of our mutual friends. So
I get around, David.
I know. But I want to talk about Pat because what you said a couple of minutes ago about it needs to be you. It needs to be your personality, your mojo, your energy. When they see a photo on your website or on your socials, and then you show up in person, it needs to be 100% congruent.
Yeah.
So what I love about your photo shoot with Pat and a lot of our other friends, but I want to use Pat specifically for this reason. Pat is a big guy. Pat is a silly guy. Pat is a funny guy. Pat is a super smart guy. Pat is a guy who you would love to have come speak to your group, and you'd love to go have a beer with him after the program.
Right.
And you were able to capture the work side, the serious side, the funny side, the silly side, he's kind of sitting there. There's one of the pictures is really my favorite, where he's kind of sitting there, he's doing the eyebrow.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And he makes that face in real life. He makes that eyebrow face all the time.
Yep.
And so you look at these kind of generic, slick, everyone looks the same. And here's what happens, I think. I think because people don't know that anything else is possible, or they don't know anything else is permissible, they will go to someone else's website and they will say, well, I like the way that, this person is photographed. Look, they have the plant over here. They're sitting on the sofa and they're reading a book. Can we do a picture just like this guy with the plant and the sofa and the book? Yeah. Now, the plant, sofa, and book was great for that person that you admire, but that's not you. That's not your environment. That's not the face that you make. Maybe you're not even a big reader. Why the hell are you holding a book? Right. And so it's the fact that you free people up to have a completely authentic representation of who they are without mimicking what it should be, without mimicking what other people are doing. So let's say someone comes to you. I mean, it's not going to be anyone that listens to this, because if they listen to this, they know how to do it right. But they come to you and they say, hey, John, I really admire, and even here's the other deadly trap. John, I saw you took pictures of X. I want pictures just like X. It's like, but you're not person X. So let's say they come to you with this kind of copy and paste mentality. How do you talk them out of that?
Oh, it's funny you mentioned that. I've had several people say, oh, I have a storyboard from my marketing, blah, 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 my personal branding, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to send it over. I'm like, I appreciate that, but I have a process in place. No, thank you. We don't need that. I don't need a vision board. We don't need any of that, because this is not a marketing campaign for a widget, you know?
Right.
This is a human being, and all human beings have commonalities, absolutely. And there are certain aspects of the library that we need to capture, absolutely. But who you are as a human being, what you wear, the way you present yourself, your body language, your facial expression, all of that is unique to you. Nobody smiles the same. Yeah. You know, nobody has a moment of reflection, the way they look off into, everybody looks different. Yeah. So as a result, there is no need to mimic or try to, create a copy paste scenario or even be inspired by, because your story, your expertise, your track record, who you are as a human being is more than enough for the person behind the camera to be able to aptly capture that. And by the way, you mentioned Pat before. Pat had to come in kicking and screaming with regards to those serious shots. And he's like, I don't look like that. I'm like, I have been in the room with you having serious conversations, literally on multiple occasions. This is how you look. Right. And when you're having those conversations, those down moments when you're not being funny or you're not performing, this is what you look like. This helps fill in those gaps. Yeah. And when we talk about trying to create a library of images, we want photos that span the emotional spectrum, from vulnerability up to and including victory and everything in between. Yes, we're going to focus on a constellation of emotions that tie directly back to how you want to be seen and the aspects of your personality you want to convey. Absolutely. But we also need to get the margins too, because the stories that you share fall far and wide across that spectrum, regardless of what your area of expertise happens to be.
Holy smokes, so much value in this episode. Listen, if you are loving what you're hearing, feel free to download, subscribe, tell a friend, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to The Selling Show. Now, back to the interview. I'm curious, when people come to you, that you craft the strategy, the plan, maybe even the first set of images is in. You've given them a deployment plan or an activation plan. Use these kinds of photos here, use those kinds of photos there. Maybe even some of the photos now they're redoing their website, their first few months of social media. I'm guessing, and correct me if I'm wrong, month 3 or 4, people maybe hit a wall and they go, John, this has been so great. And I've got, all of this ammunition, but I'm not sure what else to do. I'm not sure where else to put these things. You and I, if we could, sit down for 10 minutes with a piece of paper, there'd be 17 more places that they're underutilizing or perhaps even misusing. What's the process if someone kind of gets off track to help them get back on track? And, because you could put these on your blog. You could, like you said, you could put these in your media kit. You can make PDFs. You can make lead magnets. You can make zillions of things with these amazing images. But I think sometimes people run out of creative steam. How do you redirect them when they hit that wall of, I think I've done all I can with these images?
Well, one of the ways that I try to cut that off at the pass is by sharing with my clients different types of implementation guides with regards to the branding photography, the event photography, the book photography, as well as the overall visual storytelling plan. And I hand that off to them once we're done so that they at least have the inspiration. But as you said, I mean, there is an endless sea of opportunity with regards to where to use these things. I think the first place to start is if you start feeling like you're not getting enough juice out of them, you look at that guy, you're like, yeah, whatever. Start looking at all of the different touch points across your entire online presence. Where are you using stock photography? Where do you have AI photography? Where are you just using those icon graphics or just text? Perhaps adding in visual imagery that was created during one of your sessions would make more sense there.
Yeah.
And not only make more sense there, but make whatever that particular asset is more impactful. And then there's another piece to this that's kind of a yes and with regards to online content. One of the things that I do with my clients is, now, in most cases, people write the story, they write the copy, they write the words, wherever those words live, and then they go look for the image. They start with the story, go for the image. And that's 99% of the work that most people do. Now, there could be an opportunity for more, meaning that there might be some images in that library of yours that you really like, but they don't quite fit in the landing pages on your website. They don't quite fit in the presentation. They don't quite fit in those PDFs or as that online course or those thumbnails, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I teach my clients is to look at the image and from the image, reverse engineer a story that they then can flesh out and turn it into a teachable moment that makes it about their clients by simply asking themselves, what is the emotional sentiment of this photo? What's happening in this image?
Yeah.
What's the activity going on? Like, what is it? How does it resonate with you? And you get a word or two from that. And I'm like, okay, great. How does that tie back to your expertise? How does that tie back to your framework, your acronym, whatever your modality happens to be? Okay, great. So you got that piece. Can you think of a client story where you helped them achieve that particular solution to that particular problem? Oh, I could think back to a time a couple of years ago I was working with blah, 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 and this happened. And then I'm like, well, then what happened? This happened. Okay, great. So now you have pieces together, dangling participles. So I'm like, all right. And then ultimately, how do you land the plane? What's the teachable moment? How do you cement that expertise-driven piece that relates back to your framework? Oh, it's like this. And then, okay, great. What do you want them to do with this afterwards? Do you want to ask them a question? You want to get them on the phone? Do you want to sell them something? Do you want to lead them somewhere? And then basically you have your beginning, middle, and end call to action, and it's all done. And that way, these photos don't just collect dust. Now you're using them in a way that is a little bit more interesting and impactful, and it just kind of breaks up the content and gets you using the images.
On your website, I think it's on your website or blog or something, you've got something like 17 mistakes that experts make with their visual imagery and how to avoid them or how to not make them. Can you give us some of your favorite of the 17 visual photography or visual storytelling mistakes that people are making, either oversights or things that they do wrong?
Well, one that immediately comes to mind that absolutely drives me up a wall is when an expert breaks the fourth wall. And what I mean by that is this. Let's say you have the expert on a laptop and we're getting photos of them typing, right?
Yeah.
But instead of just capturing them typing, the photographer has them turning to the camera, looking into it, holding a cup of coffee or tea in one hand, and then the other hand is just dangling kind of sort of over the keyboard, and they're looking into the camera looking like an idiot. It's like, what are you doing? It creates this level of inauthenticity. By breaking that fourth wall, what you're doing is just kind of, hey, this is a photo shoot. Check me out. Don't I look amazing? As opposed to, you get the photo where you are looking into the camera and you are creating that positive first impression by conveying the aspects of your personality through your facial expression, or you're being caught in the act of doing the work before the work on your laptop, and those serve different purposes, but you don't mix them. You don't cross the streams, because when you do that, it just feels cheesy and you look cheap.
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest ones I have. What about you? What are one of the things when you see experts posting photos that you don't like?
Well, so this is something that I learned through one of our NSA events, National Speakers Association, for the unwashed among our listeners and viewers. So what I learned is how to fix the problem, and what I don't like, I'm going to give you the don't like first. It's these egomaniacal posts that are a big, beautiful picture of yourself, and the post is filled with I, me, and my. I am so excited. I just keynoted. I'm coming back from. I got, standing ovation. It's like no one gives a crap. So the lesson that I learned from this NSA person, I wish I could remember who it was because I would love to attribute this to the right smart person. Social media, the key is image of you, post about them. So yes, we want a picture of you, and then my amazing client, right? These guys just had the conference to end all conferences. Big congratulations to VP of Sales Jenny Jones and her leadership team. Oh my gosh, and I can't believe what an amazing lineup of speakers. Fred was there, and Ted was there, and Buffy was there. And I really loved what Buffy said about this. And I was, it was such an honor for me to be part of their event.
Yeah.
Where it's like the them to you ratio is like 5-1. 5 mentions of them and 1 mention of you if it's necessary.
Yeah.
But so the image can be all you, the post should be all about them. And that could be your coaching client, your consulting client, all the great people that came to your book signing. But because when people see a post like that, even though it's a beautiful, spot on, brand on image of you, they do not leave that post going, what an egomaniacal, crazy, narcissist. They go, what a nice person. I bet they do amazing work for amazing clients.
Yeah. And let me tell you, you just hit on something there. Number one, I hate when photographers do that. I'm the best, and this was a great session, and blah, blah, blah. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So I yell at my friends when they do that. But when you talk about that piece, when you make it about them, which is what we kind of touched on before, through the reverse engineering, is a lot of experts, they shy away from the camera because they want to avoid that very thing that you just talked about. I don't want to come off as looking like the big shot, like it's all about me. Look at me, look at me. When you write something within that context of making it about them, it now becomes come with me, not look at me. And when you bring people onto that journey, Now, all of a sudden, you're building that interest in a much more genuine way. And that is the type of content that you want to create.
Ah, so good. That's a keeper. Come with me, don't look at me. Right? Huge difference. I mean, it could be the same image, right? We can do two images, two posts side by side. Image A, totally different post, totally different post. One, you look like a jerk. One, you look like an amazing person that I can't wait to work with.
Yeah.
Because I see myself in that second kind of post, me as the client, right? Me as the buyer. I see myself in that second post. I don't see myself in your egomaniacal, narcissistic rant.
No, I mean, that's what pushes people away. And that's ultimately how you lose those 50-50 calls with decision makers.
Right.
And they come across stuff like that at 3:00 in the morning, and all things are fair with the other person that you're neck and neck with. Guess what? They're going to go with the other option, because of the fact that you just dropped the ball and made it all about you.
Yes. I want to share one more thing, and again, we could talk for hours about this, but it's soon time to land the plane. I had a client years and years ago, a really good client, a repeat client, spent many tens of thousands of dollars over the years. She never gave me a referral, ever. And I was like, so we have a good enough relationship, because obviously clients become friends. Some of my friends also become clients. It's all good, but mainly clients become friends. I said, Barbara, I love working with you. You've come so far. You've gotten just so much, acceleration in your career from our work together. I got to ask you kind of a tough love question. Why have you never referred anyone to me? Brave, right? Brave, scary, vulnerable. She says, oh, David, that's easy. I didn't want to offend you or upset you, but now that you're asking, I'm happy to tell you. It's your website. This was my old website too. Old website, no pictures, no nothing. It's your website. She says, I'm a little bit embarrassed to share your website. I'm even a little bit embarrassed to introduce you, because the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go to your website. And, I don't feel good. I mean, I feel great about you. I feel great about the work, but not a great first impression. Wow. I was like, okay. So within 6 months of that conversation, I got a new website. And it's so funny, because several other people, not a lot, several other people said some flavor of, oh my God, your visual branding is, because there's lots of photos, there's lots of pictures of me in action now. Your website's so much better. I feel much better now about referring you. And so, because I have this very transparent, very real relationship with my clients, a lot of people out there would be losing those referrals and losing that business and never know why. Never know why.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that I found out why and I was able to fix it.
It's funny you mention that. I talk a lot about in my content these days about creating more inbound. But the other piece that you're talking about is the fact that, when you get these referrals, and I've also written about this as well, and not even to this particular story, but more about, keeping top of mind with your visuals. At the end of the day, if you don't, this is what happens, because ultimately, even if you get the most glowing of referral from somebody, they're going to look you up no matter what. They're not going to just go sight unseen.
That's right.
So where you got stopped, even before that moment, there are people that will get the referral because the folks that are referring them just love them and whatever and don't care. But the reality is, people are still going to be snooping around. So you have to make sure you're on your P's and Q's with the way that you're presenting yourself visually.
Yes. I want to give one more quick cautionary tale that will just maybe drive some people's urgency to fix this problem if they have it, and most of you have it. I have been speaking. I've been speaking online. I've been speaking in person, all kinds of events. I will come across a landing page or a conference website that has some like crazy picture of me. And like, I didn't provide this picture. Where the hell did you people get this picture? That's what I'm thinking to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I call up the meeting planner, the conference producer, the host of the virtual event, and I go, "Hey, let me send you a different picture. I'm not sure. Do you know where you got that picture?" "Oh yeah, David, it's on one of your old PDFs that's hanging out on your website." It's like, that picture's like 18 years old. I have hair in that picture. Are you insane? So here's what I'm saying. If you don't take proactive charge of your visual brand, people are going to find stuff, and they're going to find old stuff, and they're going to find bad stuff, because the internet never forgets. And so if you say, well, here's my headshot, this is the headshot I want them to always use. Nothing on social, nothing on your blog, nothing in your speaker packet. It's just one or two stock pieces that you're always pushing out there. They want something else, they're going to go find something else. And that something else is not something that you want out there. If you have an abundance of visual storytelling and visual imagery, all of which is intentionally designed, intentionally published, so that they could take almost any picture they find of you online, and you're like, "Oh, that's awesome. I love that photo too. I'm glad you chose that one." Now, you want them to choose the one that you're sending them, but sometimes they don't. So it's, be careful of the accidental imagery that's out there too.
Well, you're speaking to something that I often run into in any discovery call, which is, I need photos for I'm selling a book, or I'm promoting my new book, or I need something for the website, or I just need X.
Yeah.
And the most important thing that you can do before you get on the phone with any photographer is audit your stuff. Look through your entire landscape. Before you say, I just need X, realize that you need Y, Z, A, B, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
Yes.
And that will help you change the expectation of what you're actually looking for, and you're going to realize you need a hell of a lot more than
Amen.
just a couple.
I'll tell you, now that we're riffing on this, even though we have to go, but even though we're riffing on this now, here's a really scary thing that people can do. I'm going to do this. You're going to do this. We're all going to do this. Do a Google image search on your name, and you will see all the old, bad, and outdated crap that you need to replace. If you do that, he's like, "Oh my God, where'd that come from?" Right? Because it's pictures of you in conference brochures. It's pictures of you when you were a guest on a podcast 7 years ago. It's pictures of you on a stage when you were 25 pounds heavier. It's pictures of you on a stage when you were 25 pounds heavier and you were speaking on a completely different topic. So the slide behind you is completely out of date also. And that will give you just a very quick, ugly picture of what you need to fix.
Yeah.
There you go. So, John DeMato, this has been so fantastic. We could literally talk for hours. Where can people go to get more John DeMato brilliance, get connected and stay connected with you? What links do you want to put in the show notes?
The easiest place would be johndemato.com, where you can then sign up for my newsletter. You can sign up for my socials. You can come say hi. And come on by.
You know what people can also get that I'm very excited about is your visual storytelling guide for experts. Can we talk about what that is for a quick second? And we'll also link to that.
Yeah, that is, well, when you sign up for my newsletter, you can find out all the different ways, 17 ways, in fact, on how you're dropping the ball right now and how you can get that fixed. I think that's the easiest way to describe it, David.
Exactly. It's 17 reasons to hire John DeMato, basically, which is perfect. All right, my friend, I appreciate you. This has been totally fantastic. People need to get on the ball. They need to get into the show notes. They need to click over to johndemato.com, see all the fantastic things that you're up to. And let's just call it like it is. They need to hire you. They just need to hire you. Don't ask questions. Stop farting around. Hire this guy, and you will be able to attract way better leads, way better prospects, clients, way higher fees. You are shortchanging yourself every day that you're sitting there not doing this. Just saying. Just saying. All right, my friend. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for having me, my friend. Always a pleasure chatting with you.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.